Guys, can remember for the season premiere of Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 1, Monster, and I was really looking forward to this premiere, mainly because I think we all need a break from The Walking Dead. I mean, as great as much as I actually like last week's finale, I know a lot of people didn't, I thought it was a very strong season finale and a very dark one. I really was looking forward to Fear the Walking Dead, I mean, I really actually enjoyed last season, just like a lot of people didn't. I actually really enjoyed last season. I thought it was a very strong way to kick things off. Obviously wasn't as great as it could be, but especially with the way things ended, I was really looking forward to seeing what would happen this season, because I knew that things would get crazier, and damn was this a great premiere, and this was a great way to reintroduce us to the show. There's a lot more at stake this season. I love the conflicts this season, and this really does feel more of what I wanted Season 1 to be. Not that Season 1 wasn't what I wanted to be, but they only had 6 episodes, there was only so much they could do, and you can tell that since they have more episodes, because they have 16, it really does benefit them. And I did like that they did that, because that's what The Walking Dead did for season 6 episodes, second, and then from there 16, that's what they're doing this season. And let's get into this episode. There's a lot to talk about. There's already a lot going on this season, and I really do love that. So, I love the way this episode starts. Probably the craziest scene we've had in Fear the Walking Dead so far is in the beginning of this episode. We see fading in from black, we find Madison looking at the ocean, and fires burning all around her, and things are just crazy. As we know, there was a huge attack in the finale, and Nick and Strand ride to the shore in a motorized boat, and Travis and Madison prepare to get on board as Travis's son Chris sits with his dead mother, because we know obviously Travis had to kill Liza, and that's something that Chris really has to deal with this entire episode. You can definitely tell that he's having a really hard time, I don't think believing that she's dead, but really justifying why she was killed. So they get on board Strand's yacht. Strand looks towards the fire in the distance, claims that they have some unwelcome friends shortly, and Madison and Travis see countless zombies approaching, plead with his son to come with them, but he doesn't want to leave his mother, because he knows that she's dead, and this didn't come across as Chris being stupid. I think he genuinely had a reason for not abandoning her. They get bombarded by walkers, take them down the best they can. Nick pulls up on the boat to transport them to the yacht. We see Travis carries Liza's body. They all finally get on board, and a zombie steps out of the water, but Nick uses a propeller to take its face off. Awesome scene. I love the way that was done. But already things are crazy. We see, and basically on the yacht, Daniel is waiting, shotgun in hand. Strand compliments Nick for getting everyone to the boat safely. Strand starts the engines. The boat begins to move as the group watches LA burn down behind them, and they basically can't be in LA. They're realizing they need to get out of there. It's just not a safe area anymore, and things are just getting really bad. I mean, they'll soon learn that there is no such thing as safe. We know that there's no such thing as safe, but at this point there was such a thing as safe. Like, not every area was corrupted with these zombies. As we know, this is only starting. It's not all the apocalypse is bad now, but it's not completely like, the land's not flooded with zombies yet, and pretty soon it will be, but right now it's not. So the next day, Strand hands out instructions on the yacht and is confident that they'll be just fine. They're in the middle of the ocean, and this is where most of the episode takes place, and I think where most of the season's going to take place is on this boat. And if the rest of this season takes place on this boat, I'm perfectly fine with that, because one, you have this really interesting character, Strand, who we don't know if we can actually trust him or not, and I like that we have that. I mean, we know that this guy is loyal, but we don't really know if we can trust him, and I definitely do like that. Travison walks through a hallway and finds Chris. The sound of distant screams catches his attention, though, and up top the group sees a bunch of people floating towards them, and she rushes to Strand to tell him to stop the boat, but he tells her he filled his mercy quota. He's not saving anyone else. You can tell that Madison really wants to save all these people, and you know that basically he can't do that because they already have enough people on there, and it's really sad, because I do see, you understand that Madison really does want to save all these people, and she doesn't want them to have to be in the same situation that they were. She knows that LA is a very dangerous place right now, and we see, I think Strand wants to help them, but there's really nothing he could do. He already filled up the boat. There's nothing he can do about that, and, he can't really stop the boat or anything, even though I think Madison wants him to. So Daniel prepares for the worst. Alycia wants to help them, but Travis is hesitant, and you can tell that Daniel is thinking that they're going to be in this really bad situation. I've said it before, Daniel is probably, out of all the characters, the one that is the most aware of what's going on, because like I've said, I think he's been in a very similar situation before with the way things are working out. Just the way that things are working out with the walkers. He's been in similar situations, I think, and You know, he's prepared for anything really. He has guns, he has his rifles. I mean, he's thinking that they'll get walkers and that they'll have to kill all of them. He doesn't really know what's going to happen though. So Alycia wants to help them, but Travis is very hesitant because he doesn't really know if she can, and he sends her off to listen to the radio, where she spends the rest of the episode is on this radio. And Travis and Madison then plead with Strand to stop the boat, but Travis ultimately agrees that it wouldn't be safe to stop the boat, and I like that Travis is not stupid. I know a lot of people said Travis was stupid last season. I could kind of see that. If Travis was to say, oh, no, I'm with Alycia, I'm with Madison, we can't stop, then I would have thought, yeah, he's kind of an idiot, because it really is common sense. I mean, they can't stop the boat because he already filled up his quota. There's really nothing he can do about that. You know, he filled up the quota of who's on the boat, and they can't really do anything else. So they can't stop the boat. It wouldn't be safe for them to do that, and for all they know, I mean, they could end up in a really dangerous situation. You know, the boat could tip over, it could, you know, capsize, things like that. Definitely it's a very bad situation, so definitely it wouldn't be the best thing to stop the boat. Alycia then picks up various distress calls on the radio, and she sits with Chris and listens, and we know these two have started to bond. Definitely, we know, especially from episode 5, that we're bonding, and I think we're gonna get more of that this season. We didn't get a lot of that in this episode because most of this episode Alycia is actually just listening to calls on the radio, but Alycia and Chris are in a very similar situation because Chris knows his mother's dead, while Alycia is pretty much thinking her boyfriend's dead, and they're kind of bonding over that because I think Alycia, you know, we knew she had that boyfriend, and she hasn't seen him in a while, but she's pretty sure that he's dead and she's never going to see him again, and this is a situation that she does have to deal with. This is something that I don't really know if she's prepared to deal with, but she is trying to move forward. Chris, however, doesn't really want to move forward. He's kind of stuck in this, you know, slump because obviously his mother is dead, and he knows that Travis killed her, and he doesn't know why, and he doesn't really understand why. So Travis and Daniel watch the floating refugees become more distant as Alycia hears the Coast Guard reveal that there's no help coming, there's nothing they can do whatsoever, and unfortunately they can't really help them. So atop the Abigail, Nick reveals that he thinks Strand should have stopped, but Strand disagrees. They're heading to San Diego with no plan B right now, which is smart because they don't really know where else to go. There really is no plan B because they don't know what's safe and what's not. All they know is that San Diego is a safe place. At least Strand is telling them that. So they basically have to trust in Strand as much as they can, but they don't really know if San Diego is the safest place. And I like that Nick actually does want to help, because Nick was the first one, as we know, to really become aware of this whole apocalypse, and he is the one that knows that they probably should have saved them, but now that no one is going to save them, they probably could have, but they, you know, couldn't have obviously because of what Strand said. But again, you don't really know. I mean, is this guy actually, you know, serious, or is he really just have his own way of doing things? I mean, it's very interesting the way we see this guy. You know, we think we can trust him, but we're not really sure, and that makes him, I think, probably the most compelling character right now. He, by far, is probably the best character on the show right now because we don't really know if we can trust him or not. So everyone else is great, but I think Strand really has added a lot to the show, definitely, because we have this whole trust issue of whether or not we can trust this guy. So Alycia finds her mom on the deck, and Madison urges Alycia to get some sleep. She doesn't want to. Alicia's skeptical of where they're going and how Madison could even know, because, you know, she doesn't really know that they're going to San Diego. Strand's telling them that, but she doesn't really know if they're going there. She dismisses her mom and continues to listen to the radio, and Alicia's realizing that she can't really do anything. I mean, you can tell that Alycia really wants to help, but there's not really much they can do. All they can do is trust in Strand that they actually are going to San Diego and nothing more. But they don't really know if they actually are going to San Diego. That's what Strand is telling them, and they have to basically, you know, listen to him, which they don't really know if they actually are headed there. So Madison heads down to the room where Travis is, who is deeply thinking about his son sitting with Liza's body. Very hard to watch, and you can definitely understand why they're, you know, what they're dealing with, and they're arguing about the people who floated by, and Travis insists that his family is what's more important, but Madison's very standoffish. She really wants to save these people, and I really like the scene where she's talking about how she's thinking about their neighbors and all these people and things like that. Remember their neighbors, you know, what happened to them? She's thinking of people that she's seen die, but she knows she can't, but in the back of her mind, she is thinking about them because she wants to save them, because Madison's a good person. She doesn't just want to let them die. Right now, like I said, there really are, the only Rick Grimes of this show is Daniel. Daniel's the one that's just ready to kill and knows that he has to kill. I I think Madison is willing to kill. Definitely, she knows she has to do that, but she does want to save as many people as she can because of the fact that she doesn't want them to die, and she doesn't fully understand the situation, as do none of the characters. I don't think any of the characters fully understand what's going on except for Daniel. He really is the only one. But that makes sense because the apocalypse is just starting up, and I think if we were in this situation, we would be very naive of what actually is going on and what could happen and what can happen, because I think we as humans, we always think the best, but always fear the worst, and obviously, I think they're fearful, but I think this is also Madison's trying to stay positive. You can definitely tell she's trying to stay positive, even though she doesn't, necessarily think she can. I think she's trying to. So Alycia picks up some music on the radio. Someone radios asking if anyone else is out there or if anyone is alive. Alicia's hesitant to respond, but does after a while with "I'm here," and I think this is just her way to talk to someone, basically, kind of just comfort them, tell them that they're going to be okay. And what I love about the scenes with Alycia, that she doesn't really know if they're going to be okay, but she has to do whatever they can to comfort them, and I definitely really like seeing that. They bond actually really well with this man, which we'll get into. So Chris continues to sit with his mother. He covers her up, looks pretty broken before heading to the deck where he starts fishing with Daniel. Daniel talks about how fished briefly before apologizing for what happened to Liza, and Chris apologizes for Griselda. As we know, Griselda died as well, and again, that's something that these two are both bonding over. Daniel's just used to it. Daniel's kind of just moving forward. I think he knew Griselda was going to die. There was nothing he could do to save her, and unfortunately, she had to die. There was nothing he could do about it, and basically, in turn, Daniel catches an eel, mauls it so they can eat it, because, of course, they have to find food in any way they can, and the best way to do that is to fish, and Daniel got them an eel. Obviously, eels aren't the best thing to eat, but in this situation, they need to find, they have to find food in the best way they can. So Nick and Ophelia bump into each other below deck. He offers to help her with her wound, but she turns it down. He parts ways by giving a few verbal tips, and these two, I think, are going to bond. This is kind of some interaction we haven't seen as much as Nick and Ophelia, because we know the characters were actually very divided last season. That's something I do like this season, is that everyone's together. There's no one divided. Like, last season, of course, we had that whole thing with Nick and Strand, and that whole situation, but now everyone's really together, and I like that. I like seeing that everyone's together. It's not like The Walking Dead where everyone's separated, which, seems to happen all the time in The Walking Dead, but I feel like this season everyone's going to stay together, and I really am looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with that. Ophelia is the one character that we don't really see a lot of in this episode, but I'm perfectly fine with that, because we already know that Ophelia's suffering. We know what's going on with her. We know the pain that she's in, and just from the gesture, we can tell she really doesn't want to be bothered right now. She really just wants to move forward and just be by herself, and it's sad, but we need to focus on the other characters. I'm sure we're going to focus on Ophelia again, but this episode we really didn't focus on her that much. So Alycia talks with a man on the radio. He won't reveal where he is. They talk about their experiences with the apocalypse and how they don't really know what's going on. She talks about her boyfriend, things like that. I really like this scene, though. I like the way she bonded with this man, just because, again, it doesn't matter where he is. They're just bonding over this apocalypse. She needs to talk to someone about it. There's no one she really can talk to about it, and this is her way of, being able to talk to someone. I definitely like seeing that. I thought that was a very good scene. Travis approaches Daniel, asks what he and Chris were talking about. Daniel is aggravated by the fact that Travis would question him, and we know that Travis still doesn't really I think he trusts Daniel, but he still kind of is a little bit weary about Daniel in some ways, and nevertheless, he tells Travis that one day Chris will see Travis's actions as mercy, and reveals that he envies him for having done such a thing, and that he really couldn't have done that, and that's exactly what it was. Remember that Liza told Travis, put me out of my pain, kill me, just kill me, I want to die, and it was a mercy killing, that if he wouldn't have killed Liza, she would have become a walker, and he didn't want to have to kill her as a walker. He didn't want to have to go through that, and that's why he killed her, because she didn't want to become a walker, and because of that, he killed her, and it's very sad, but it makes sense why he had to do that, because of the fact that, one, she told him straight out, you have to kill me. Two, he just didn't want her to suffer any longer, and that's why he had to kill her. And I like that Daniel said, look, don't be upset about it. You did the right thing. I couldn't have done that myself. And the fact that Daniel's saying this, that's really big of him, because, again, this is Daniel, who, like I said, is ready to kill, but he couldn't actually do a mercy killing. He could only kill those that come in his way. And it does show that Daniel's not perfect. He does have flaws, and I definitely really like this scene. And I do like that Travis and Daniel are starting to bond, and everyone seems to be starting to bond. I definitely really do enjoy that. Of course, there is clashing going on with, like, Chris and Travis, but I do like the bonding between these two. I think that was very good. So later, Madison sits on the deck with binoculars. She heads inside and hears something which gets her attention. She pursues the sound and finds the captain's seat empty. She heads all the way to the top and finds him telling someone that music is playing in the distance. He claims he's talking to ghosts, and she tells him she heard that too. And Madison asks how far out they are, and they surmise that they can take care of her. And that's very interesting because she's clearly hearing him talking to someone, but he's saying it's ghosts, but she heard it too. So there clearly is someone out there that needs help and they want to try to help them. So Alycia continues her conversation, which is now much more friendly. And at first, they really were just very secretive, but now they're really starting to come out and talk about themselves. She reveals to the guy that they have water and are on a yacht, and the man continues his questions. And again, I just really like the bonding between them. It was a small moment, but it was really good because I think this is kind of cathartic for Alycia. She could just talk to someone about her boyfriend, the whole situation that she's going through. I mean, she's going as much as Chris, but she's just not showing it as much, and she's just trying to deal with it, and she doesn't really know if she can. So Madison and Daniel then stand at the head of the boat. She asks him what's next, and Chris tells her that if this is the end of the world, then it's already over, and there's nothing they can do about it. And Daniel doesn't trust Strand. He questions why Strand was ready to leave LA on a moment's notice, because, yeah, I mean, he came from LA. Why do you just want to leave so quickly? It doesn't really make sense, and how do they know that San Diego, again, is safe? They don't really know that. So it makes sense why they don't really trust him right now. I mean, Strand, of course, is telling them, hey, you can trust me, but just some of the things he's doing, they're very questionable. And honestly, yeah, I mean, I can understand why they're not really trusting this guy. Yes, he seems like someone that they can trust, kind of, but there are many things he's doing that just don't seem like they can trust him very much. So definitely very interesting the way this is going. I like that they don't really know if they can trust him, and I like the way that's being handled. So Alycia lays and looks at the drawing on her forum that her late boyfriend drew as the guy on the radio tells her about the people he has lost. And again, they're really bonding over this because Alicia's lost a lot of people, and she's seen people die. The biggest one, of course, being her boyfriend, who I can't remember her boyfriend's name, but of course, as we know, he had that thing on her forearm, and she still has it there. She hasn't gotten rid of it. Obviously, it means a lot to her, and it's a really good scene. I can understand if someone thought the Alycia scenes were kind of cheesy, but I really like the way this was done. And Madison, Travis, Ophelia, Nick, Alycia, Daniel, and Chris, they then gather around Liza's body and basically give her a proper funeral. Travis gives a touching speech about her. He concludes by saying that she loved her son more than anything. Chris calmly approaches and suddenly dumps her body into the ocean, surprising everyone. I mean, everyone's freaking out because this is the body that he's spent so much time, groveling over and just grieving, not groveling, grieving over and not really wanting to get rid of, and all of a sudden he just dumped it. And Travis then follows Chris to his yacht, and they argue. Chris says he could have fixed it, punches Travis in the face, saying that he shot her. Travis goes upstairs, and Madison finds him with a bruised face, and of course, Chris just doesn't understand why Liza had to go through what she did, and you can understand what's going on there. Madison has a bruised face. We don't know why she has a bruised face, but she does, and very interesting. Alycia then heads back to her room, hears her friend as his boat sinks. He tells her he's just 2 miles offshore, south from the pillar of smoke that she can see. She rushes up to everyone else, asks if they can help them, but Strand is very offended that she talked to anyone, and he tells everyone 3 times and basically says, he gives them 3 conditions, and this is why Strand is such a badass. Even though we don't know if we can trust him, this guy is already a badass. I love his acting. He's awesome here. He says, this is my boat, and to thank him that they're alive and to never forget the first 2, that this is his boat. And he seems to have a lot of problems with them contacting people that aren't on his boat, which is very interesting. And again, I understand the situation. They just want them to get attached or whatever, but it's just a very interesting situation. We don't really know why he feels this way, why he doesn't want them to talk to other people. But he's not upset with the fact that Alycia talked to him. He's more upset with the fact that this is someone that wasn't on his boat, which is very interesting. So Strand reveals to Nick that he's tired. Strand says that everyone who is here contributes, and Nick is curious about how he can contribute because right now he doesn't really have much of a job. Alicia's handling calls and things like that. Madison's kind of a lookout. Travis is kind of dealing with things. Nick doesn't really have a job, though. So Madison approaches Chris, asks if he hurt his hand. He silently nods to say yes, and Madison tells him about the first time she hit her own father. He asks what she wants, and she tells him she wants him to come up because he needs to eat. She tells him that even if Travis hadn't shot Liza, she would have, because she will never let that happen to someone she loves. And that basically, she would have killed her anyway because she just knows that she didn't want her son to have to see her turn into a walker and she didn't want him to have to deal with that. And it's a really great scene, again, the way that these two bonded. And I really like that. And I like that we kind of found out that her father did abuse her, which I thought was very interesting that we found that. I mean, I think that's something that I think we might have heard of Madison's father before, but not as much as we did here. And I definitely did like that. I like the way they bonded over this. Definitely really good. And I like that Madison's telling him that, she would have shot, Liza even if Travis hadn't. It's not the fact that Travis shot Liza. It has nothing to do with that. It's the fact that she just wanted someone to put her out of her pain because she knew that she was going to turn into a walker. She didn't want Chris to have to see that, and that's why he had to shoot her. And I like that Madison explained that to him. And I don't think Chris is upset with the fact that she was going to turn into a walker. He just didn't fully understand it. But I think now he is starting to understand it, and I definitely love seeing that. So the group gathers in the yacht's dining room for dinner. Chris finally comes upstairs as everyone seems to be having a really good time. A really nice scene. I like seeing everyone actually bonding. They hear a splash from inside, realize that Chris jumped off the yacht. Nick goes in after him. Chris tells him he just wanted to swim. Alycia isolates herself on the deck, tells her friend Jack that they can't come get him. He tells her that, he tells her, I got you, I'll see you soon. And the saddest thing about it is that we don't know if this guy is actually going to live. He's saying, I'll see you soon, but is he actually going to? I mean, his boat is sinking and they can't save him. So is he actually going to live? We don't know. Are we going to hear more about Jack? Are they going to bond more? I'm not really sure, but I do like where this is headed. I like that Alycia does have someone to talk to. I like that Alicia's bonding with someone. I'm just hoping that she doesn't get attached because, like I said, I don't know if this guy's going to survive or not. I mean, the chances of him surviving are very slim. His boat is sinking. It doesn't sound like he has any help getting to his boat, so I don't really know what's going to happen there. So we'll have to see what happens with that. It's going to be very interesting. Strand then hears something on his radar. Alycia looks for Jack. Nick and Chris swim around at sea. Nick realizes that the person swimming above him is a walker that is actually floating. It's not Chris. It's a walker. And the yacht has come upon a wreck, and the dead are turning in the water, and that's crazy what's going on there. Nick hears someone banging on a wall near the wreckage and goes after them. Chris is pulled on to Travis's life raft as Nick swims underneath the other boat, which is ravaged with bullet holes. Travis goes in after him, a woman with a neck, and Travis, of course, doesn't really understand the situation. Travis obviously knows the danger, and Nick kind of wants to fight him off, but Travis knows the danger here, and a woman with a neck brace who is now a walker attacks, but he's able to escape, and luckily they got out of that. Strand then tells everyone that they need to leave immediately, saying it could be no one, or it could be the ones who destroyed the other boats, because obviously the boat was destroyed, and now knowing this, it could have been a walker attack for all we know. So that could be the situation for what's going on there. I mean, obviously we know there are walkers in the water. Strand then rushes the boat into gear to get away from the people who are approaching, and that's how the episode ends. So really great way to start this season. I really love the intensity. I love everything that's going on. And I love that, I love the drama that was going on in this. I mean, there was a lot of family drama going on. That's what I want from the show. I don't need high walker action every 15 seconds. That's The Walking Dead. I need family drama. That's what Fear the Walking Dead was meant to be. It's meant to be a family drama first and a horror show second. And that's exactly what it is. And I thought this episode really established that really well. But let's talk about Strand, because again, like I said, we don't 100% know if we can trust this guy. I mean, I think we want to hope we can trust him, but there was a part of me that just feels like maybe this guy isn't as trustworthy as he seems. Just the way he's acting, the way that he is telling them, oh, we must get to this place. We don't really know what's going to happen there. I think it's very interesting the way that that's going on. We'll have to see what's going on with Strand. I think that's going to be very interesting if we can trust this guy or not. By far, that's one of the most interesting parts right now is, can we really trust this guy? Because I don't really know. Just something about him, not off, but he just seems like he wants to be in control. And is this that he wants to be in control, or can we actually trust him? I'm not really sure right now. That's going to be very interesting to see if we can trust him. Let's talk about the whole situation with the walkers. What's going to happen there? Are they going to be able to rescue the other boat? I mean, we don't really know if they're going to get to them. Definitely, that's a big problem, obviously. Alycia bonding with Jack. Is Jack actually going to be saved? I mean, knowing there are walkers in the water, I don't know if he's going to be saved. I mean, Jack says, see you soon, but who knows if that's actually going to happen? We'll have to see what happens with that. It definitely is going to be very interesting to see what happens between Alycia and Jack, even though they're bonding right now. Can she actually, confirm that he's going to be saved? I don't really think she can. I mean, obviously, like I said, his chances of survival, I think, are very slim, just because of the situation we know he's in. I don't know if they'll be able to get out of it, things like that. We'll have to see what happens there. Obviously, Chris, I think he's realizing what's going on, that his mom had to die. I think he's realizing the situation. That's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. I think that whole situation is very interesting. What's Nick's job going to be? Because as we know, he wants a job from Strand. Strand didn't give him a job, but we'll see if he does give him a job. He calls him by his actual name in this episode. I can't remember what it was, but he says that no one's ever called him that except his father. I believe it was Nicholas, but basically Strand basically isn't giving Nick a job yet, but we'll have to see what happens with that. Strand clearly does want to be in control, though. He thinks that he's in control, and even Daniel doesn't trust him. You know that there's probably something off with this guy. Or maybe there's not. Maybe they're just quick to make assumptions. I don't really know. Maybe just based on previous things. They're thinking they can't trust him, but they just have this mentality that this guy can't be trusted. We need to get away. We need to listen to him, but at the same time, we don't really know if we can trust him, and that makes perfect sense why they don't really know if they can trust him right now. Ophelia, we don't really know what's going on with her. Didn't see a lot of Ophelia in this episode, like I said, so we'll have to see what's going on. You know, if we do see Ophelia again, I'm not really sure. But overall, guys, as much as you guys saw this episode, like I said, I thought this was a very strong premiere. I definitely love where this season is headed. What I love about this season, I know a lot of people didn't like the family drama, but that's what this show is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a show about this family and the drama that they're going through and the problems that they have to do. I mean, it's not about, yes, the apocalypse is going on, but it's really about how this family deals with it, and you really do see that in this episode. They're trying to understand it more. There are things they just still don't understand, though, and even Daniel doesn't understand. Like, Daniel understands he needs to kill, but there are certain things he doesn't want to do, such as kill a loved one, and that's something that Travis had to do. He didn't want to have to do, but Daniel and him are bonding over that, and that's something I really like. I like the bonding between Alycia and Chris. I think we're going to see more of that, definitely. I like the way that they were bonding over things. I think Alycia is starting to get over her boyfriend's death, even though it's very hard for her to. I don't think she necessarily wants to, but I think she's realizing she does kind of need to move forward and push some of that aside, but we'll have to see what happens with that. And of course, how are they going to get away? Obviously, you know, there are walkers in the water. How are they going to get away? We'll have to see. But overall, guys, I'm going to guys saw this premiere. I thought this was a very strong premiere. Definitely really did love it. Great return for the show. And I will see you guys in my next show, which will be for tonight's episode of Vinyl, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.